Hey everyone, welcome back to TTA Performance's YouTube channel, and today we're going to work on Rocky here, and we're going to actually install a manual boost controller that I sell. I'll go through how I install it, how to adjust it. It does come with instructions when you purchase it. I do get questions from time to time about installation and everything like that, so we're going to go through all the details of how to install it, where to install it, how to adjust it, all that great stuff. So why don't we get started? Okay, we've got Rocky in, we've got air cleaner already taken off, and excuse the background noise because it is a very windy day today. And we're going to kind of go over some things as to how to install the manual boost controller. So taking a look, I'm going to point out a few things about the 80 301 turbo engine. Right here is the power enrichment valve. And a lot of people ask, now this one's already been rebuilt by me. You can see the screws are all the way around it. An original won't have those screws. But it screws right into the intake manifold. And let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit. You can see this, there's like a rectangular block that's going between the power enrichment valve and where it screws into the intake manifold runner. Now that block is normally, if this car had boost lights on it, that block would have the pressure switches in it. Let's get another angle right here. It would have the pressure switches in it. You can see there's a plug right there too for the boost lights. So this car does not have boost lights. It was never equipped with them. Some 80 model non-pace cars did not have boost lights. And so there's a plug on each side for where the pressure switches would normally go. One is an 1/8 inch NPT thread. The other one is a 1/4 inch NPT thread. So this is kind of nice because this is a good source to actually hook up a boost gauge. Now, this isn't the only source that you can hook up a boost gauge, because if we look over here, we have this metal line right here. Factory cars will have this metal tube. Some cars, it's been replaced with a rubber hose. An 80 version, this line is actually just one piece. There's nothing coming off of it. 81 will have a T off of this, and it'll be another vacuum hose that actually runs over to the driver's side fender well for the map sensor because it was computer controlled. So right now what we have going on from the factory is that this metal line is actually taking boost pressure from what I call the foot of the turbo, basically the compressor housing, and it comes up and it feeds into the wastegate actuator. This is what actually controls boost. This rod will move out and actually open the wastegate lever to bypass exhaust and slow the turbo from spinning and building too much boost. As you can see right now, with that solid line on there, and there's no restriction, there's nothing in it, so the minute you make 1 psi of boost, you're already starting to put pressure into that actuator and starting to push against the spring inside there to try to open it. So the manual boost controller is actually going to go in place of this metal line. Now let me go get that for you. So here is the manual boost controller. This is a brass check valve. It's adjustable that I make, and it's going to take the place of that metal line. Now this is actually directional. It has to sit this way. You can see the little threaded adjustment on the top here. That's got to face the actuator. Because of the check valve, that's what you want to do. You want it to actually face the actuator side. Don't put it in upside down because it's not going to work. Now, the beauty of this is that we're going to delay the actual boost signal going to that actuator. We're going to delay it until we meet our required boost level. So hopefully we can get this turbo to start spinning and building boost right away, and to just go hog wild building boost until we meet our threshold. Now, this car right now does not have water injection on it at the moment. It will be getting it at some point. But for right now, we're going to actually go about 8 psi of boost. That's about the maximum that you can get away with on premium pump gas normally. We're going to be listening for detonation, make sure nothing's happening, nothing's rattling. But in the meantime, the first thing I want to do right now is I want to hook up a boost gauge to this car, and we're going to go take it for a ride, and we're going to see how much boost it makes on its own. Now you'll notice the factory actuator on this car is just a solid rod. It's not threaded, it's not adjustable. Some of them are adjustable based on if the turbo was ever rebuilt. Honestly, I don't even know what makes or breaks as to how you get one with an adjustable rod or not. Some have them, some don't. I guess it depends on how it was rebuilt or who the remanufacturing facility was that did it. Obviously, this one doesn't have that, so that would be another way that we can adjust boost by shortening this rod if it was threaded. But right now, we're going to control it pneumatically with the manual boost controller to check valve. So one other thing I wanted to point out about the actuator, I get asked this a lot. There are 2 ports on the actuator. We have the one facing forward, and then there's another one, and you can't even see it. It's facing down. The one facing down is a vent. On an 80 model, it has a hose that will actually come over. Oh yeah, there's the fitting. It's kind of hard to see, but this little fitting right here is on an 80, and the vacuum hose is attached there. It's not necessary to have that vacuum hose attached. You can leave it off and plug the port on the back of the plenum there, and just leave the port on the actuator open because it's got a vent. That's what it's for. In 1981, that hose actually went to the back of the carburetor on the vacuum tree. But again, it's not critical, but you'll know where it is depending on what year you have. So let's get a boost gauge hooked up to this car. Let's go take it for a ride. Let's see how much boost it's making. So as you can see right now, it's idling pretty high because the choke's on. We're at 1500 RPM in park. We're pulling about 21, 22 inches of vacuum. So we got to get it a little warmed up. We'll just go take it for a little ride. The choke should come off soon because I just drove the car not too long ago. So let's see what we get. The reason I say it's got to be warmed up and the choke off is because with the choke on, the secondaries don't work on the carburetor, so you're just running off of the primary side. And if you're running off the tiny little primaries, it won't get enough air into the turbo to build enough boost. From the looks of it there, made about 7 pounds, spiked a little higher than that at times. Oh, actually spiked up a little bit there and I heard it start to detonate. So actually it's more than I thought it had. The car doesn't feel all that powerful, but again, I'm probably used to 14 pounds of boost all the time with my car, and that's a big difference. So right there, we kind of went up to around 7 or 8, and that was in 3rd gear at wide open throttle, which puts a big load on the engine. And I did hear it rattle a little bit from some slight detonation. So honestly, as much as I want to put the manual boost controller on, I'm going to show how it's installed, but really we can't up the boost any more than it already is. We're going to have to wait until we get the water injection installed before we start jumping the boost up any higher. Okay, so I got the manual boost controller installed, and as you can see, we just removed the steel line and used some vacuum hose and attached it to the compressor outlet. Then we have our manual boost controller, and then we're running regular hose up to the wastegate actuator. Now, if you have boost lights and you have the switches next to the power enrichment valve, well, in 81 you won't have a power enrichment valve, you'll just have the switches in there. If you don't have room to get to put a fitting in there for a boost gauge, you can also tee into the bottom tee in, somewhere between the manual boost controller and the compressor housing, you can tee a gauge in there instead. And that's all outlined in the instructions with the boost controller when you get it. Mainly that would only be for an 80 pace car or any 80 turbo car that has boost lights, to where all the ports are taken on the block where the power enrichment valve is. But yeah, then you would tee in down there. Don't try to put anything on the carburetor. You're going to be vacuum only up there. The carburetor is not pressurized. It never sees boost. You have to be somewhere after the compressor housing of the turbo. So again, down there or even off of the block on the intake manifold. Unfortunately, there's no other fittings on the intake manifold that you could tap off of to read boost. So I got the manual boost controller in there. It comes preset at 7 PSI is where I set them up. So we got the gauge all hooked up, slam the air cleaner back on. Let's go for another ride. And we'll just see if there's a difference. If it's too high, we'll have to lower it down. Now that's one thing to note. The manual boost controller will not run boost any lower than what your factory wastegate actuator is set to. So we took ours for a ride. We saw it settled somewhere around 7 PSI. That's the least amount of boost we're going to get. I can't adjust the manual boost controller and go lower than 7. I can go higher, but I really don't want to right now because we don't have water injection and it's already starting to show signs of detonation or heavy load and low RPM. So let's go for a ride. Let's just see where it is. Maybe we'll see that the boost gauge actually sweeps up and gets to maximum boost faster than it did without the boost controller on it. So let's go check this out. Boost. We actually got into a little detonation there. Obviously, as you can see, it went past 10 psi, closer to 11, and I heard it start to rattle a little bit, so we got out of it. Obviously, it's too much boost for no water injection, so we'll have to either turn down the manual boost controller, or we just got to add the water injection. And once we add the water injection, then we can actually go even higher. We can go up 13, 14 pounds probably on pump gas, on 93 octane pump gas. So we now have water injection installed on the car and the manual boost controller is installed. So now we can actually take it for a ride, see how much boost we're making. Now I no longer have the temporary boost gauge in the car. The reason why I took it out is because I have now converted the clock to a boost gauge. So now we can actually just watch this when we take it for a ride. And we also have the blue indicator light below it that tells us when the water injection is coming on. So now we can take it for a ride, see how much boost we're making, see if we have any detonation, which we should not with water injection. So why don't we do that? Let's see where we're at. Now let's see how well we can do here with boost. That felt pretty good. A little squawk in the second gear there was nice. A little downshift. Yeah, no detonation. Sounding real good. That's a success. Water injection's coming on, doing its job. This is a very nice running car, very fun to drive.